Hey, good day to you. This is Todd. I am a regular dude walking in the Word. Hey, today I'm talking about sin, okay? And you might be wanting to dismiss this episode and go, it doesn't really apply to me. I'm a good guy. I don't really sin. Not that I can think of. I'm a pretty good guy. Let me tell you something. You are a sinner, okay? That if you can't get that into your head that you are a sinner and you're born with a sinful nature, you've separated yourself out of Christianity into some of their false religion, really, okay? And most of that false religion is that I myself am God, and God is not God, but I'm the God. That's craziness, okay? It starts out, you were born with a sinful nature, and it came from Adam and Eve in that sin, and it was passed on because we're man, okay? It was passed on from man to man to man and woman, all the way down through, and I'm born with that sinful nature. When I'm born, I have no problems finding ways to sin, okay? As a child, I will steal, lie, and cheat whatever way I can, okay? I'm not, and get this, the world, that's a worldview of the Christians. The unchristian worldview is like, I'm born a good person, and so I just need to continue being a good person. And when I get off track, I just need people to encourage me to continue on my righteous way, okay? But the Christian worldview is this: you are born a sinner, and as you're born a sinner, the only way that you can be saved from that is with Jesus taking that sin away, okay? And Jesus changing you so that you don't continue on in your sinful ways. But let me tell you something. I continue to sin, even though I've been a Christian for many years, but I continue to sin. I'm a sinner, all right? Now, why I bring all this up is because this chapter here, we're dealing today in Leviticus 16. I'm going to be doing this in 2 episodes, verses 1 through 19 today. This is the Day of Atonement. Why did you need the Day of Atonement? Well, the Day of Atonement was done, it was really a holiday, but it was done where these sacrifices were given, and the sacrifices were done for the whole nation of Israel, okay? And if you have the mindset like, why do you need a sacrifice for me? Because I'm a perfect person. Well, you're sadly deceived. And so this was a sacrifice that covered really the whole nation, because the whole nation was a bunch of sinners, just like we're a bunch of sinners today. So let's read here Leviticus chapter 16, verses 1 through 19. The Lord spoke to Moses after the death of Aaron's 2 sons, who died after they entered the Lord's presence and burned the wrong kind of fire before him. The Lord said to Moses, warn your brother Aaron not to enter the most holy place behind the inner curtain whenever he chooses. If he does, he will die, for the Ark's covenant, the place of atonement, is there, and I myself am present in the cloud above the atonement cover. Okay, so Aaron wasn't just a free willy-nilly just go into the Holy of Holies whenever he wanted to. It was a once-a-year thing, and this was the day when it would happen. When Aaron enters the sanctuary area, he must follow these instructions fully. He must bring a young bull for a sin offering and a ram for the burnt offering. He must put on the linen tunic and the linen undergarments worn next to his body. He must tie the linen sash around his waist and put the linen turban on his head. These are sacred garments, so he must bathe himself in the water before he puts them on. Aaron must take from the community of Israel 2 male goats for a sin offering and a ram for a burnt offering. Okay, bunch of sacrificing going on here to cover the sins of the people. Aaron will present his own bull as a sin offering to purify himself and his family, making them right with the Lord. And then he must take the 2 male goats and present them to the Lord at the entrance of the tabernacle. He is to cast sacred lots to determine which goat will be reserved as an offering to the Lord and which will carry the sins of the people to the wilderness of Azazel. Aaron will then present as a sin offering the goat chosen by lot for the Lord. The other goat is the scapegoat chosen by lot to be sent away and kept there alive, standing before the Lord. When it is sent away to Azazel in the wilderness, the people will be purified and made right with the Lord. Okay, you have these 2 goats. One, and it's just chosen by lot randomly. One is going to be the sacrifice. One is going to be the scapegoat. The scapegoat I'm not talking about today because we're going to spend the whole episode tomorrow talking about the scapegoat. So, but these are all these sacrifices that are done to atone for sinners like us, but more specifically, the people living in that time period. Verse 11, Aaron will present his own bull as a sin offering to purify himself and his family, making them right with the Lord. After he slaughtered the bull as a sin offering, he will fill an incense burner with burning coals from the altar that stands before the Lord. Then he will take 2 handfuls of fragrant powder incense and will carry the burner and incense behind the curtain. There in the Lord's presence he will put the incense on the burning coals so that the cloud of incense will rise over the ark's cover, the place of atonement that rests on the ark of the covenant. If he follows these instructions, he will not die. Then he must take some of the blood of the bull, dip his finger in it, and sprinkle it on the east side of the atonement cover. He must sprinkle the blood 7 times with his finger in front of the atonement cover. And I'm stopping here for just a moment. It says he needs to do it this way, so that he doesn't die. It was just a natural effect. You came into this knowing you will die if you don't follow these instructions, word for word here. Okay, so there was always a risk. Am I doing this right? Am I going to die? And this was cemented into their head because his own 2 sons just did willy-nilly what they wanted to with burning the strange fire. And Aaron now comes into this, and God is saying, you need to follow the instructions exactly this way. If you follow it exactly this way, you're not going to die. Okay? So let's keep on reading here. Then Aaron must slaughter the first goat as a sin offering for the people, and carry its blood from the inner curtain. Then he will sprinkle the goat's blood over the atonement cover and in front of it, just as he did with the bull's blood. Through this process, he will purify the most holy place. And he will do the same for the entire tabernacle, because of the defiling sin and the rebellion of the Israelites. No one else is allowed inside the tabernacle when Aaron enters it for its purification ceremony in the most holy place. No one may enter until he comes out again, after purifying himself, his family, and all the congregation of Israel, making them right with the Lord. What's his purpose for going in there? To make everyone right with the Lord. That's the atonement. Then Aaron will come out to purify the altar that stands before the Lord. He will do this by taking some of the blood from the bull and the goat and putting it on the horns of the altar. Then he must sprinkle the blood with his finger 7 times over the altar. In this way he will cleanse it from Israel's defilement and make it holy. Okay, I'm stopping there today. Tomorrow it continues on talking about the scapegoat, which we will talk about tomorrow. The big thing I want you to see here is this. Aaron was doing this for atonement, for the sins of the people, okay? The people were full of sin, and that's why it was done, and that's why it was necessary. You're sadly mistaken if you think you're just a perfect guy and you don't sin, okay? And Jesus went further here in telling you how much of a sinner you are. By later on in the New Testament, he said, hey, you know what? You might not have slept with another woman, but if you look at that woman going down the road and you're like, oh, wow, that's sure a fine woman. I'd sure love to have sex with her. Oh, well, you just did it in your heart, okay? Coveting is another one that's big, too. You know, the other day I saw a Corvette go driving by. I'm like, wow, you know what? That's a nice Corvette. And I was like, my daughter was with me, and I said, man, how much is a brand new Corvette like that? And I was like, I bet you it's $100,000 now. And she looked it up. Oh, no, it's $120,000. Okay. And so there was a time period I was coveting. I was like, shoo, I sure would like to have a Corvette. Then I heard the price tag, and I was like, I don't think I need the Corvette. But coveting was happening right in my heart there. Okay. So you are a sinner. Whether you admit it or not, you're a sinner, but that is the first step in salvation. If you think you're not a sinner, you need to go back and admit that you're a sinner. Look at the ways that you are a sinner, and because Jesus is saving us from our sin. Okay, if I go, you need to be saved, And you go, oh, what do I need to be saved from? Well, you need to be saved from your sin. But if you say, I don't have any sin, well, then we need to backtrack here. Okay? So hopefully that explains everything, that yes, you are a sinner. Lord's blessing to you. I will see you tomorrow.